in from Jersey last night, so they're in
Welcome, cousin.
Yeah. Nope, not at all.
I think that's what they're here for.
Yeah, and the fans work in case somebody needs the fans.
Wow, they're even past Israel. Now we're talking.
This is
You ever told me.
one thing.
You want to go to Boca?
I don't want to go to Boca.
Well,
That's a lost place.
this is like an observance thing that he does.
I would say
Probably not.
He was very excited. He has like each of these panels is
One's
like
not enough,
numbered,
too?
so he knows
Okay,
exactly what goes where. It's
Very
He's
nice.
fancy.
All right. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam b'yamim ha'olam.
But yes, I need to get more furniture. I was a little sad about the fire table.
Yep.
This is like my first house with like big kid purchase. The fire table that's on the curb.
Oh, man.
Broke yesterday.
Brad, you know, now they made a lecture, that means you're going to have a few of those.
It was on the curb. Yeah, it's like a
Too late now. Send them down. All right, where are we up to?
Yes, that took a while. We have a lot of extra rolling.
We're up to page 272, but we have to do Chazara because we didn't get very far.
That's how we roll. Yes, I had them flown in straight from New Jersey. Just for y'all.
Also, Rabbi, if you hear a lot of noise, I'll go inside, but there's a simple space just to wave us somewhere in the area.
Excellent. I hope we can participate.
But it doesn't disturb.
No, not disturbing. Sechas Evos are not disturbing.
Leanne,
Okay.
Need a new menu. This one's from June. It's just, I think I must have gotten it at one of the.
Because we were on the second paragraph. Of
All right, anybody else? Anybody else know where we're up to?
272.
That's it? Just the one person in Israel? The only one who knows what we're actually up to?
Oh yeah, here we are.
Oh, the marker.
We got the marker.
I'm going to move.
This
Yeah,
also
see, I
includes
finished
another
the
deep
dates,
concept.
so I've got an advantage.
I think.
Because they were
Yeah,
very
in the
close. They were
teacher's
lighter than
edition.
these.
Yeah?
They said it's brighter than this.
You got this one?
Between all
Oh,
the
you
all
do.
the
You
lights
don't
on
have
there.
this one. Yeah, Lynn, where are we up to? Oh, yeah.
272.
All right.
The second paragraph.
That's what I think.
You can come in any way you want. Yeah. My tenant's not here.
Bring a
so-
chair, just not that one.
Not that one. No, we have a chair for you.
There's a couch.
No, there's a chair right there for you.
They want you to sit all the way at the fire pit, so you sit here.
No, I got you
All
sitting
right,
next to
so
Brad.
so put the chair on the couch.
My little rain barrel.
All right.
First day I had it.
So,
I got you.
let's see.
You only have
272.
You have no more body.
Yeah, we're at 5. We're kind of between 509 and 510. We're kind of on the edge of the page there.
Yeah, that's where we had gotten up to. And then we gotten about halfway through, had some sort of discussion and didn't finish it,
All right.
according to my notes.
All right. So, all right. So let's recap over here. So 2 weeks ago we talked about.
No, they definitely were. I can turn them on, but it's quite nice out already.
So, what we said previously was.
I was going to say,
That's right. Thank you for turning the music down. We said that all of existence is under Hashem's control, and we said that this is easier to understand when it comes to good things and when it comes to miraculous things. Then it's easy to see that. It's harder to see that when it comes to the evil that exists in the world, and there's plenty of it. And we learned, as we talked about last week, that the concept is that Hashem created the world in a way that there will be balance. Did you send her around?
No,
I think she thought you told her to go around.
I got you. I got a chair for you.
That the world needed to be created in a balance, meaning that there has to be free choice. The whole purpose of our existing here in this world is to make proper choices. And if there isn't a balance between good and bad, then there isn't much of a choice to make because it becomes pretty obvious. So because of that, Hashem created a world in which He can adjust the good and the bad that exist around us, and in doing so, we have our free choice in every circumstance that we need to have it. Now, we said that the idea of evil in the world is not, in essence, evil. It's not actually bad. It's just the way we perceive it, because it looks painful. It looks damaging. It looks like it's not the way things should be. It looks like Hashem is not involved. But the but the reality is the contrary. The reality is that what we are doing, or what we are seeing, and what we are experiencing is Hashem's hand. It is Hashem bringing this evil into the world, or more accurately, allowing this evil to exist in the world. And the way He allows that to happen is by shading His light, by creating areas in which Hashem's light is not as clear, and therefore the things that we perceive might be perceived as negative. It might be perceived as bad things, as painful things, as hurtful things. And the reality is that those are also part of Hashem's doing for good reason. Nevertheless, we view them as the difficulties of life. So, let's see, where exactly should we start from? Let's start from where we started last week, which is the word ume'aimeku and the depth or the profundity of the matter is as follows. Anybody see that? Okay.
Yep.
The depth of this matter is because the system that Hashem used to set up and arrange the world was there. It's designed for the perfection of all of creation, as we already explained back in the first section. Because there are many difficult things that seem bad, that go around, they cycle through the world. Whether it's a result of people's choices that they make, that are choices of sin.
Can you show me where?
She's got the same book as you.
I'm just saying I don't see, based on the English, what you're talking about.
Right here.
So you're in this paragraph?
Yes. Next time, just trust her. Or it might be a result of what Hashem has decreed as a punishment. And this would seem on the surface to be against the will of Hashem. Because Hashem Himself, as we know, only wants goodness. And Hashem's entire purpose in creating the universe was in order to do good. And Hashem's name is profaned when the wicked are on top, when they're ruling. And as the difficult things, the painful things, the bad things, as we call them, take hold, this is a chilul Hashem. This is a profaning of Hashem's name, because people don't see Hashem in those situations. People only see Hashem in the good times, unfortunately, but really, they should be seen even in these matters. But someone who knows Hashem's ways, and he delves deeply into them, he will know that all of these difficult things, all of these painful things, all of these disasters or hardships or calamities or suffering that are experienced in the world, they are all deep ways of Hashem making things happen. They are all focused on the same point of bringing the world to its perfection. And it's through these things that the world will be able to fulfill its purpose, as we have already explained back in the first section. So what comes out from this is Shakadosh Baruch Hu hamenaheg es hakol be'emes. Hashem is the one who is running everything in truth, everything. And it's only Hashem's will that will actually take place. Shehi hagia tuvai ushlemusa shel el, because everything that happens is Hashem is sending all of the circumstances down to this world in order for all of creation to reach its perfection. As we learned over there. Ella is just that based on the truth of the matter, these things need to happen through these events, through these cycles. As things go on, we need to recognize that Hashem is making these difficult things happen in order to accomplish goals. And these are good goals. These are goals that are necessary for the perfection of the world. And it's very difficult oftentimes for us to see that. We don't see the good in the danger. We don't see the good in the the difficult things that happen in life. But we have to know that that's the purpose. We have to know that Hashem is not doing bad. Hashem is creating all of the circumstances for our benefit, and it's all for the good. Okay. And all of this is all based on Hashem's extreme wisdom and on the true goodness. For us, it's very easy to see things as good when in reality they're not good. You know, we might see something as this would be a good thing, but when Hashem sees it, He sees the truth and He sees it's not a good thing. A simple example. Unfortunately, there have been many people throughout history who have been blessed to come upon a fortune in their lifetime, whether it be in business or a lottery or inheritance, whatever it is, and it ultimately ruins their lives. They end up becoming conceited, they end up becoming bad people, they end up becoming self-centered, and very often they'll become depressed, and it ruins their lives, right? Now, of course, when it happens, people look at it as this is a good thing. What do you mean? He just won the lottery, right? That's the best thing. Think of how much good he can do with all this money, right? But the problem is that sometimes, if it's not the right person, and it's not the right circumstance, for them to win the lottery is going to eat away at their moral fabric, and they're going to end up ruining their lives. Sure, they'll have money, and sure, they'll have comfort, but in the end, it will not be good for them. So, there are many circumstances like that, where we think something's good, but the reality, for only Hashem who knows everything, He knows that it's really not good. So, we have to view life with this outlook. We have to recognize that everything that happens is happening for our benefit. It's for our good. It's for the greater good, not only of the individuals involved, but also for the Jewish people at large and for the world at large. So there's sometimes where it's really difficult to see it. You know, it's very difficult to see the goodness in the Holocaust. It's very difficult to see the goodness in the destruction of the temple. Right? These are calamities beyond measure, and we can't even understand the losses that we have when these events take place. And yet, this is Hashem's goodness. We have to realize that. We have to recognize that this is all being done for a good reason. A simple example, with the destruction of the temple, Hashem told us. He said, better that I take it out on the stone and the brick and mortar, rather than taking it out on the flesh and the soul. You know? It should have been destroyed, but instead, the Beis HaMikdash was destroyed. Certainly a better alternative, right? Because the Jewish people live on. The temple will be rebuilt, but the Jewish people can't be rebuilt, right? That's it. We're either here or we're not. So Hashem has His ways of doing things that, again, seem difficult, and yet they're good things. We're here. That's right. That's right. We're here. And Baruch Hashem for that. Okay. All right. Are we comfortable with this? Yes. Yes.
Yeah, right.
You think we should be comfortable with it?
Yeah. Wow. That's going to be a no. Okay. Go ahead.
I'm not saying that I disagree with the premise of everything you're saying. I can't imagine being comfortable with it. I mean, when you hear about, I mean, like the example you just gave, like the recent floodwaters wiping away towns in North Carolina and all the tragedies, I understand what you're saying intellectually. I'm just not sure why you'd say you would be comfortable with it.
Okay, comfortable meaning with the concept.
Like,
Are you comfortable with the concept?
do I think the concept makes sense? Is it like,
Is it true and accurate and 100%? You don't need to answer. That's okay. I'm just telling you that's what I'm looking for.
So that's what comfortable means for me.
Yes. Okay. Yes. Because anything less than that, you shouldn't be comfortable with.
Okay. I'll keep that in mind.
Okay, you close your book and head out? Okay, thanks for coming.
Once you can come to terms with that, then when things happen, you can be more comfortable with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
You should still feel other people's pain, but you can understand and not be bothered by why does something have to happen.
Absolutely, like Rabbi Rabban mentioned at his class that you were at. Remember that? Were you awake?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah? Okay. Great. What?
What did he say?
Yes. Okay, so Rabbi Rabban gave a couple of examples of this. One of the very powerful examples was that the son-in-law of the Chafetz Chaim was very ill, and he was experiencing a lot of suffering, and he was dying. And his daughter, the Chafetz Chaim's daughter, that is, came to him and said, You save all sorts of people. People come to you all day and all night asking for salvation, and you manage to save all these people. Why can't you save your son-in-law? You know, what's going on here? So the Chafetz Chaim responded. He said, I can, but understand that a third of the Jewish people are being saved because of his suffering. And it was a number of years until, many years after that, not many, but it was, 20 years, maybe a little more, and after that the war broke out. So the 6 million, who were a third of the Jewish population at the time, lived another 20 years on account of this one person suffering. So the Chafetz Chaim said, yeah, I could save him, but I happen to know that that's a bad idea. Because yes, this one individual suffering is difficult for him and it's difficult for you, but you're saving 6 million people for the next 20 years. Think of how much pain and suffering that's avoiding. Think of how many mitzvahs are going to take place during that time. So we have to have that outlook that we don't understand it, but it's good. As painful as it is, it's good. You know, one of the rabbis in Israel pointed out after October 7th, he said, that was obviously a terrible tragedy by all accounts. He said, but you do have to take one thing into account here when you're thinking about this. Every single person who was killed because they were Jewish is going straight to the world to come in a unique place that nobody else even gets to see. So you could be dealing with people who have never done a single mitzvah in their entire lives. And they're going to be in Gan Eden, well, we will never even be able to get close to them. Is it a tragedy? Of course it's a tragedy, but not for them. Tragedy is for us. They're way better off than they would have been otherwise. So we have to have the perspective of Hashem's doing these things for the good. And if we can't get comfortable with that, then we got to walk away from the class with our heads down, drive away.
And have a vahina.
There you go. That'll do it. Or get some sleep. Who knows? Maybe that'll help. Okay. All right.
They say stories also, like people like this who died on Kiddush Hashem, because when it came time, whether it was during the Maranos or earlier times in history where they had an opportunity to die on Kiddush Hashem and they didn't,
They were given another chance.
They chose to convert or whatever it was. Hashem's giving their neshama another chance to earn that Kiddush Hashem.
For sure. Yeah, that certainly can be. I have no reason to think otherwise. And as we've spoken many times, these things don't have to be within one lifetime. It could be based on something that had happened previously, that the neshama needs this in order to reach its place in the world to come. Okay. Okay. Good? Comfortable? All right. Good enough. Moving on. The Vada B'Saif. Now, it will be known at the end. Kol ha-gilgulim, all of the different events, all of the cycles, all of the different things that had to come into play. And recognizing all of this will be Ki hu yizbarach shemay echad yochid umiyuchad. That Hashem is one, He is alone, and He is unique. Which is a phrase, it's used in Kabbalistic nature and literature a lot. It's a phrase that Ramchal himself uses in multiple works of his. It's the way of describing Hashem's absolute oneness. And Hashem is the one who caused all of these different events to take place, all the different things that happened. Hashem was behind all of it. In all their different ways. All to get to the ultimate goal, which is which is the ultimate good, as we have mentioned. So all of these different things, they're all going to come together. In the future, there will be a time where we will understand why all of these things happen. We will see how all of the pain and all of the suffering and all of the hardship that every single person experienced in history was necessary, was the best thing, and was ultimately a part of the goal of reaching the ultimate of goodness. And it was all necessary. We don't necessarily see it at the time, but it happens. And eventually we will see it.
Rabbi, can I share something?
Please.
So this is from Rav Twersky in Milwaukee. He says that's the meaning of Zekeli Van Vehu. This is the part of Hashem I revealed in this world through my Nisyonos. That's why it's Keli. And that's the ultimate truth of seeing that.
Interesting. Okay. So what Gula is saying here in the name of Rabbi Twersky in Milwaukee is that we have a concept that we will each be able to see, hopefully, if we merit it, we will each be able to see how our own trials and tribulations in life were also mediums through which Hashem's greatness ultimately came to be revealed. And how each of the tests that we passed and each of the difficulties that we experienced were all part of this bigger picture, and how I played a role in this, and how my decisions made this happen. And it's a very, very comforting thought. Okay, thank you. All right, moving on? Moving on? Okay, all right. Herbie says we can move on. We're moving on. And what is also found deep in this concept is also the exposing of Hashem's oneness. And that's a concept that we can try to understand, and we can get a certain degree of understanding of it, but we certainly cannot fully grasp it, and the world at large certainly does not grasp it. The world at large is against Hashem, and even against the concept of there being a leader, etc. And perhaps more so today than in previous times, perhaps not. I don't know, but certainly today we see that lots and lots more people would rather not believe in a supreme being. More people would rather believe that the world runs on nature and we can do what we want because there's no accountability. Vizeh, and this is Kihine Kfar Be'arnu, because we've already explained Sheklal Kol Hamasibas Hasavivais Ba'olam, that the rule, the concept of all of the different things that happen in the world, Hu Shehine Bara Habari Yisbarach Es Hara, that Hashem, by the way, I said Hine for all those of you who weren't listening, Hashem created the evil, L'sheya'aviruhu b'nei Adam, for the purpose of mankind removing it from the world. V'yikba'u ba'atzmam u'b'briya esatayv. And the purpose of the evil is there for people to remove it and to instill the goodness in the world in its place. First within themselves, and then within the world around us. It's a very unique concept that he's talking about over here. He's saying that part of the reason that evil was created was for us to attack it, for us to remove it, first within ourselves and then within the world around us. So we all are going to have a degree of evil within us. That began when Adam and Chava ate from the tree of knowledge. They incorporated evil within ourselves, within mankind. And our job from that point forward is to remove that from within ourselves. That's our job. That's what we're here for. We're here to remove that evil. And once we can remove it from ourselves, we can remove it from the world around us as well. Now, we're not always in a position to affect others. We're certainly not always in a position to affect the whole world. But when we have opportunities, we've got to take them. But the way that has to work is by first removing it from ourselves. And he explains, if we read the wording carefully, is that we need to remove it and put the goodness in its place. Because you can't just have a void. Yes. And I'm sure I hope Lynn will concur with me on this one, please. Just please, this time. When a person is, for an example, and a person is trying to get rid of an addiction, yes, I'm going to call on your expertise here. You can't allow it to simply create a void. No. You have to fill it with something else. So if you have this evil in quadrant A48 in your heart, and you remove that, and you fight against it, and you've got that gap there, you've got to stuff it. You got to fill it with something good, or it's just going to get refilled. It's going to come right back. So that's what he's talking about over here. We have to get rid of the evil within us, and then we have to fill it with good. Yes?
I was like, can we take that from, like, right now standpoint in Israel and the war? They taking that evil out, and they need to put something in that's good.
Yeah, I don't know that that'll ever happen, but we do the best we can. 1 second. Is this accurate?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Clinically accurate statement there, folks. Yeah, but it's critical. It's critical. You can't allow your battle to be just one focus of just removing the evil. It can't ever be that. It has to be removing the evil and replacing it with the good. How do you do that? Very good question. Very good question.
Otherwise, you
Okay,
just
so
have Baza, essentially.
all right, yes, that's what we were talking about. So how do you do that? How do you replace it?
If you're taking a specific point out, how do you
replace it? Okay, so if you learn the Mesilas Yesharim is Ramchal's perhaps most basic work. And there he talks about all the different characteristics that a person can have, those that are good and those that are bad. And he contrasts them. And he says, this is the antithesis of that. So the work that we have to do is identify the bad, identify the opposite of that bad, and then work on them both simultaneously. Try to uproot the bad trait and improve the opposite good trait. So if a person's lazy, they need to not just uproot their laziness, but they have to work on being zealous. They have to work on being more active in good ways. So let's pick an example. Let's say somebody is addicted to alcohol because of they don't know how to cope with the difficulties of life. Okay? Pretty simple example, right? So they're drinking to get rid of the pain. Right? Now it's not actually getting rid of the pain, but it's masking the pain to the point that they can go to sleep and wake up the next day and probably do it again. Right? Maybe. Right? So now what happens, what needs to happen is that they have to identify that the problem is that they don't know how to cope. And that's why they're doing all this drinking. And then they have to see, what can I do that will help me cope? So if it'll be seeing a therapist, if it'll be just working on seeing the bright side in life, if it means learning this and becoming comfortable with difficult things being actually good in life, maybe it means getting more sleep, who knows? But they have to try to identify what is the opposite of my problem. And I need to focus on using that. So next time this person feels like they're starting to get depressed, or starting to feel that pain, and they want to go take a drink, they need to think to themselves, well, what can I do to lift my spirits now that will not include drinking? And they'll go do a good deed. They'll go help somebody out. They'll go, they'll go do a favor for somebody, and they'll find that makes themselves feel good, and then the need for the drink goes away. So now what they're doing is they're combating on two fronts. They're fighting the depression, which is the source of the problem of the drinking, because they're saying, I know this is a problem, I need to avoid that depression. And then they're focusing on doing something good to fill that void of, I'm feeling this coming in, it's not just going to go away. I have to do something that's going to be the opposite of it to fill my head, to fill my time, to fill my space. And that way, it'll be filled with good things and the bad things won't come back. So that's kind of the system we have to work with. Whenever we have this negative, we have to find what is the opposite positive and try to focus on that as the positive while removing the negative. Now, specific examples, you're going to have to, each person's going to be different, and every scenario is going to be different. But the general rule, if you're dealing with characteristics, learn Mesilas Yesharim. Mesilas Yesharim gives you what all the contrasts are, and says, this is the negative, and this is the positive.
I don't remember the contrast.
Learn it through. Learn it again. Learn it again. You'll see. He goes through it. The whole time. You have to read between the lines a little bit, but it's all there. It's all there.
What is that one titled in English? Is it
The Path of the Just.
Just.
Yes. Yes. It's in English, yes.
I have a comment/question.
Okay.
Okay, so the examples you're giving thus far have been pretty, I guess extreme would be the word, or pretty, where you can see the contrast
Yes.
pretty well.
Yes.
Okay, so let's replace alcoholism with, I don't know, I work too much.
Okay.
But that work can also lead to good.
Yeah.
So, is that evil?
That depends. Every
It's
scenario,
life, right?
every individual and every scenario is going to be different. So you have to be able to be honest with yourself. And sometimes that means talking to other people who are familiar with your situation and getting their opinion to weigh in as well, because we're biased. And you need to ask yourself, do I need to be going to this extreme, or is this far being an overall net negative? Maybe I need to go 60% instead of 99%. Right now I'm only leaving myself 1% for life and 99% for work. Maybe I need to shift that number down to 66% and 33%. And you need to be honest with yourself.
Yeah, I think it's easier when you're talking about something that socially is not as acceptable, like an addiction that is not as acceptable, right?
Yes.
So drugs, alcohol,
Right.
Exercise is the same thing.
Yeah.
You recognize that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but when you're I think in the case of work, because the work can bring good, that's much harder.
You're right.
It's more vague.
Right. It means you have to be more honest.
Examples.
It means you need more honesty.
Yes.
It means you need more honesty. It means you have to be more honest with yourself and say, is this actually good, or am I inventing in my head that it's good? Balance. Yes. Yeah. So you have to look at the net and say, what am I giving up and what am I gaining, and then decide if it's worth it. And like I said, a lot of times that requires talking to somebody who is close to you, who you trust, and you'll listen to them if they tell you, no, you're off, you're biased, and you're making a decision that's really inaccurate. Call me in an hour.
I know. Because I don't listen to
Happens to be awful.
Yes.
I thought the path. I read The Path of the Just some time ago. I thought it's almost a bit like a 12-step program. Like it's going through all these character things, and you're trying to refine.
Yep.
And it gets harder and harder.
Yep. That's correct. And that's the goal, though, because when you look through that, what he says is he gives you all the good character traits, and then he says these are the things that will stop a person from attaining them. So if you can identify any of those things on the negative side, you know that the opposite is the good thing that's taking away from. Okay. Got it? All right. Very good. Okay.
We finished with Ubriya Tatov, so we're up to Vehine Chukim Rabim.
Yes, we are. All right. Very good. I've got a bounce house party to attend. See you later, everybody. Have a wonderful Yontif, and we'll see everybody next week.
So we're meeting here now every Sunday, right? We're meeting here every Sunday.
Yes.
I would be happy.
Should I move this to the new place?